Hi. I'm Marcus. You're the new nurse, right? Yeah, I thought so. You look nervous. Everyone does on their first day here. I'll show you around soon. But first, let me tell you about myself. It helps to know who you're working with. I used to be like every other kid with pushy parents. You know the type: straight A's, science fair ribbons, thick books with tiny words. My mom was a teacher, and my dad was a dentist. They didn't say it, but they always had that look when they talked about Dr. Marcus. That's me, by the way. Or at least it was supposed to be. I didn't mind, really. I liked learning. Biology made sense. Chemistry was like a puzzle. I liked putting things in order, understanding how things worked, even if people didn't. And when I didn't like it, well, I just kept going. That's what you do when your parents give up their vacations and eat cheap cereal so they can save up for your test prep classes. College was a blur of classes, late nights, and frozen food. I wasn't the smartest guy in my class, but I was the one who never quit. You'd find me with my face down on my desk in the library at 2 a.m., half my dinner still stuck to my cheek. I got through pre-med. Then med school. Passed the tests. Did the rotations. Worked in hospitals that smelled like bleach and old coffee. I was doing the thing. You know, the thing. The one everyone talks about like it's the only thing worth doing. And still, something felt wrong. I was around other students, other future doctors, all hunched over their laptops like machines. And I started to wonder, was this it? That's when I found Blackwoods. It wasn't even part of the program. I found it by accident. I was driving out to a country clinic for a volunteer weekend. Took a wrong turn somewhere between Pine Hollow and nowhere. No phone signal. Dead GPS. I saw this long iron gate and a crooked little sign that said Blackwoods Home. I don't know why, but I turned in. That was 5 years ago. My parents were confused when I told them I was staying. A retirement home. My mom said, like I'd told her I was becoming a street magician. Is it even real? Dad asked. I told them it didn't matter. I liked it here. They didn't get it. But they don't complain when I help pay their bills now and then. You're probably wondering what's so special about Blackwoods. Why a guy like me would give up the city hospitals for this old building in the middle of the woods. Why I stay. Why I smile when I walk these halls. You'll see. But first, let me tell you about the place. Blackwoods started out like any other retirement home. Beige walls, soft music, long hallways that made your knees hurt just looking at them. You know the type. It smelled like soup and hand lotion and carpet that had soaked up too many spills. Nothing special. Just another quiet building where old folks went to slow down and fade away. Then Mr. Blackwood made that deal with a demon. It was before my time here, but I still remember the first time I heard about it. I was in the break room, back when we still had the old vending machine that ate your coins, and Rosa, the night nurse, was peeling an orange with that little pocket knife she always carries. She didn't look at me when she said it. Blackwood didn't always look like that, you know. I looked up from my sandwich. Like what? She just smiled a tired smile. Keep working here. You'll see. And I did. I first saw him 2 weeks in. It was early, maybe 5 a.m., and I was counting supplies in the east hallway, the one with the floorboards that dip like a boat. He came around the corner slow, dragging one foot. His cane clicked once with every third step. He moved like the hallway was too narrow for him, though he barely took up any space. I remember the smell first, clove smoke, faint but sharp. The scent of something burned and bitter just under it. Like someone had burned a library book and then tried to hide the ashes in their coat pocket. He nodded as he passed, polite. But I couldn't move. Not right away. Because there were no eyes. Just smooth, pale skin where they should have been. No sockets. No lids. No scars. Like someone had decided he didn't need them anymore and removed them clean, like erasing pencil marks. He didn't stop. Didn't speak. Just disappeared into the dark end of the hallway, his cane echoing like a clock you'd forgotten to wind. Later, I asked around. No one gave me the full story, not all at once. I had to piece it together, little by little. A phrase here. A warning there. But it always came back to the same thing. New Orleans. Apparently, years ago, Blackwood packed a single bag, locked the front doors, and drove south. Didn't say why. Didn't leave instructions. He was gone for just under 3 weeks. When he came back, the staff found him standing outside the front gate at dawn. His shoes were covered in Black River mud. His hands were shaking. He didn't say a word. From then on, he walked with a limp. He stopped speaking in full sentences. And he never blinked. The building changed with him. Lights flickered more than usual. Like the wiring was tired. The walls felt older. Rooms stayed cold no matter how high you turned the heat. And then came the visitors. They didn't ring the bell. They didn't call ahead. Some were brought in the back of silent black cars. Some walked in on their own, dragging old suitcases, dressed like it was still 1932. One showed up wearing a suit made of stitched feathers and glass buttons. No one ever asked where they came from. No one had to. Blackwood took them in. He'd stand by the front door, just nod once, and they'd pass by like he'd been waiting for them for years. Some stayed a month. Others, longer. A few never left their rooms at all. And the staff got used to it. Quietly. Carefully. We stopped asking why room 9 only opened inward, even though it was built like every other door in the building. We learned that you don't serve soup to room 17 unless it's tomato, with cracked pepper on the rim. And you knock twice on room 4's door, then step back. Always step back. No one ever said the word monster. But sometimes, you don't need to. Because eventually, you realize this place isn't just a retirement home. It's a resting place. A halfway space between life and whatever comes next. For the ones who stayed hidden long enough to grow old. And it's our job to care for them. So, welcome to Blackwood's home for retired monsters. We have some rules. Rule 1, only polish the silver after the werewolves go to sleep. No exceptions. Now, I know what you're thinking. Polish the silver. I signed up to give medicine and maybe mop a spill. I didn't come here to clean spoons like a servant in a haunted hotel. Trust me, I get it. But here, we all help out. Blackwood's is short on staff. Always has been. The cook's got a wooden leg and the dishwasher won't touch anything round. Don't ask. Point is, when it comes to jobs that no one else wants to do, sometimes they fall to whoever's around. And that includes silver polishing. You'll find the case of silverware in the locked cabinet next to the kitchen door, black wood, brass trim, heavy thing with a number lock. The code's 1019. You'll forget it. That's fine. Someone will remind you. We always do. Now, the silver. Yes, real silver. Not fake. The forks and knives shine like they're made of frozen lightning when they're clean, and they have to be clean. Witches don't like dull edges. Says it messes with the cleansing. Something about vibrations, or leftover stuff from human hands. I don't argue. You won't either, not once you've seen what happens when a spell goes wrong in the soup line. We had a macaroni problem once. Let's just say no one eats shell pasta anymore. But the thing is, and this is important. You cannot, under any circumstances, polish the silver when the werewolves are awake. I mean it. They hate silver. I don't mean they're allergic. I mean they hate it. The way you hate that sound a fork makes when it scrapes a plate. Except for them, it's worse. It burns. If you bring polished silver into the East Lounge while they're playing cards, you might as well toss a hot coal at their feet. And most of the time, they won't yell. They won't growl. They'll just grab the nearest thing, a tray, a chair leg, a blunt fork, and stab it into your side like they're poking at a stubborn tent post. That's what happened to Tyler. Good guy. Didn't last. Now, about bedtime. The werewolves live down the east wing, past the double doors with the scratched brass handles. Their rooms are close to the laundry chute because they shed like it's a sport. They take dinner around 7. Pork, mostly. Sometimes turkey legs. Then they shuffle back to their rooms, listen to the radio, and by 8:30, they're out cold. Usually. Don't take chances, though. Give it until 9:15, just to be safe. You'll know they're asleep when the hallway lights stop buzzing. You'll hear the beds creak, one after another. The sound rolls down the hall like bowling pins falling over in slow motion. Then it's safe to unlock the cabinet. Take your time with the polish. Use the green cloth, not the blue. The blue scratches. Sit by the far window in the dining room. Keep the tray in your lap. Don't spread out. One of the witches might come by for tea, and you don't want to be in her spot. Trust me. You'll do this once a week. Twice, if room 12 throws another fit and dumps the salad tongs into the koi pond again. Now, let me tell you about Mr. Hayes. He's the main reason this rule exists. Not the only one, but the loudest. Room 22. First door on the left when you enter the east wing. Old werewolf, for the color of fireplace ash, walks with a limp. Not from age, but from a hunting accident in '59. He never talks about it. He does talk about the war, though no one's quite sure which one he means. He's got a thing about forks. Not knives. Just forks. Especially blunt ones. Back when I was new, I asked Rosa why he always had one tucked into his sock. For balance. And because once, someone tried to hand him a silver butter knife during brunch. What happened? I asked. She just looked at me and said, "Don't ask. Just remember this, bacon donuts. That's what keeps Mr. Hayes calm. Not tea. Not pills. Not soft music. Bacon donuts. We keep a box in the walk-in freezer labeled, Emergency, Hayes. If he starts getting jumpy, you bring one out and leave it near the bingo table. Don't hand it to him. Just leave it. He'll find it. Like a cat with a guilty conscience. He's not all bad. Sometimes he tells jokes. Dry ones, but still. He can be sweet, when he wants to be. You just don't want to be around when he's not in the mood. Especially if you're holding silver. We had a temp nurse last spring, Kevin. Thought the rules were more like guidelines. You know the type. One night, he decided to get a head start on silver polishing. Said he had plans after his shift. Wouldn't listen when we warned him. Went into the east dining room at 8:30. Mr. Hayes caught the shine of a polished ladle from the hallway. Didn't say a word. Just walked up behind Kevin and stabbed him in the ribs with the blunt end of a fork. The rag in your hand will start to turn black after the third fork. That's normal. You'll smell the polish in your nose for the rest of the night. It sticks to your fingers no matter how many times you wash. Use the deep sink, not the kitchen one, the drain their backs up when you run hot water too long. You'll hear footsteps sometimes. You'll want to look. Don't. It's usually the janitor or something pretending to be him. Either way, keep your eyes down. Keep the rhythm going. Buff, flip, rinse, stack. Every once in a while, one of the lights will flicker above you, just enough to remind you this place doesn't run on electricity alone. The dining room clock is slow by about 4 minutes, so finish the tray before it hits 10. Stack the finished silver in the red bin, not the blue one. The blue bin is for spoons used during night tea, and you don't want to touch those. Once you're done, wipe the table. Put the rag in the metal pail under the sink. And when you pass room 22 on the way back, keep your footsteps light. If you hear something move behind the door, just keep walking. No one's watching to see how well you follow the rules. But they'll know if you don't. So, remember the first rule, only polish the silver after the werewolves go to sleep. Rule 2, if you hear coughing from the crawlspace, give candy through the vent. I know how that sounds. I remember the first time I heard it. I thought it was a joke Rosa was pulling on the new guy. She has a mean streak sometimes, likes to see how far she can push people. So when she handed me a crumpled packet of cough drops and said, "Hold on to these, they're for the crawlspace vampire," I thought she was messing with me. Then I heard the coughing. It was somewhere deep behind the east wing, in the wall just above the long hallway with the fire exit that doesn't open. It sounded like a cat getting choked underwater, wet, broken, jagged coughs, too sharp to be a heating pipe and too regular to be a raccoon. That's Victor. He used to be a vampire. A real one, back when it meant something. Long coat, big collar, eyes like river stones, the whole bit. Had the voice, the stare, the cape with the red lining. You know the type. He was part of some old noble house, maybe Romanian, maybe Hungarian, depending on who's telling it. They say he was supposed to be one of the big ones. The lords. But something went wrong. Apparently, he fed on something, or someone, he shouldn't have. Maybe a priest. Maybe a dying witch. Either way, the blood twisted him. Didn't kill him, but turned him half-bat, and not the good kind. He got stuck somewhere between states. His wings are too short now. His arms bend weird. He can't shift back cleanly anymore, so he mostly crawls. Lives in the crawl space between the walls and the insulation. He doesn't like people seeing him. Says it's a pride thing. But the guy's throat. Sounds like it's made of gravel and regret. Must be from breathing in dust and fiberglass for 30 years. Every few nights, you'll hear it, deep, rattling coughs bouncing through the vents. At first you'll think the building's about to fall down. Then you'll hear the wheezing and a sort of muttering in broken Romanian. That's when you go to the main vent near the supply closet, kneel down, and shake the cough drop pack upward. If you do it right, you'll see a pale, twisted hand slide out of the vent slats, quick and quiet, like a magician's trick. It'll snatch the candy out of your fingers and vanish. You'll hear a tiny wrapper crinkle, a long slow sigh, and then quiet. That's Victor. He won't hurt you. He just coughs, a lot. And he likes someone to talk to, if they can understand him. First time I said hi, he surprised me. I crouched near the vent and said, "You okay in there?" There was a pause, and then a voice, "Do you have the one that tastes like mint, but also like salt?" "You mean the original one?" I asked. "Yes. It tastes like funeral shoes." I blinked. "That's specific. I like it." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "You must go through a ton of these." A short, hoarse chuckle came through the vent. "Only on Thursdays. And when I think about poetry. That is, most days." I laughed a little. "Do you even have teeth anymore?" Silence. Then, rude. And that was how I met Victor. I bring him lozenges every time I'm on shift now. Sometimes he tells stories in half English, half grumble. I nod a lot. Smile where it feels right. It doesn't matter if I understand everything. You don't really come to work at Blackwoods to have normal conversation. You come to make sure the guy in the vents doesn't start coughing so loud it wakes up the witches. Which brings us to the next rule. Rule 3, don't take any tea from the West Wing ever. The witches live in the West Wing. You'll know it when you get there because the hallway tiles change, suddenly they're a dull green, like moss, and they don't match the rest of the floor. They say the original floorboards kept catching fire, so the witches replaced them with something less burnable. No one's checked. The West Wing smells like cinnamon and burnt herbs. Don't breathe too deep. You'll get dizzy. Like your thoughts are wearing the wrong shoes. Everything feels 1 inch to the left. The witches don't sleep much. They nap. They brew. They hum to themselves in languages no one's translated. Their rooms are always warm. The doors are always closed. Except when they aren't. And if you walk by and they're open, keep walking. Now, they'll offer you tea. Sometimes they come out smiling. Sometimes they just hold out a chipped cup with something steaming inside. It won't look dangerous. Might smell like apple or ginger or vanilla. That's the trap. You drink it, and maybe you wake up with an extra toe. Maybe your hair falls out in patches. Maybe you lose something small, like your wallet, or your car keys, or worse, 5 teeth. And maybe you won't notice what you lost until 3 weeks later, when it's too late to ask for it back. The witches don't do this to be mean. It's not personal. They're just curious. That's worse. Rosa's the only one they like. She's been here longer than anyone but Blackwood. She drinks their tea, and it doesn't hurt her. They call her Old Bone Friend, which I don't love, but she seems okay with it. Sometimes they make her little gifts, jars of blue fireflies, bread that sings when you cut it. She keeps the stuff on a shelf in the nurse's office. She tells me their tea, when they're not playing tricks, is the best she's ever had. I wouldn't know. I've never touched it. And you shouldn't either. Even if they're smiling. Even if they call you dear. Even if they're holding a pretty little cup that smells like your grandmother's kitchen. Say no. Say you're fasting. Say you're allergic to root. Just make something up and keep walking. Because once you take their tea, you're no longer a visitor. You're part of the game. And they don't always play fair. So remember. Don't take any tea from the West Wing. Rule 4, do not break up card games in room 12. And don't sit in. Not even if they smile. Not even if they pull out a chair just for you. Just say you've got mopping to do and get going. Room 12 is at the far end of the north hallway. Quiet most of the time. Then some nights, without warning, you'll see the glow from under the door. You'll hear the low sound of cards being shuffled, slow, heavy. The kind of sound that makes you stop mid-step, like something important's happening in there. It always starts small. A candle lit behind the window. The soft scrape of a chair leg on wood. And then they gather. The monsters in room 12 aren't new. They're not even especially dangerous by today's standards. But they're old, really old. Older than the country. Older than paper cards. Some of them knew how to play before humans knew how to read. And they've been making deals since the beginning. That's what you need to understand. This isn't just a game to them. It's an urge. A pattern burned into their blood. Monsters used to make deals with humans all the time. You know the stories. Trade me your soul and I'll make you rich. Give me your name and I'll give you power. Let me take your firstborn and I'll keep your village safe. It wasn't just evil, it was a system. Rules. Stakes. Terms. They made bargains because that's what monsters do. And we, stupid as Ev. The regulars change a little, but some you'll see again and again. There's Scar, the old werewolf with the half-missing ear. He wears gloves with the fingers cut off and keeps a silver tooth in his front pocket, won it off a friend centuries ago. He's been quiet lately, but when he plays, he grinds his teeth until the cards shake. Luna's there, too. A mermaid, long since dried out. Her hair hangs like seaweed and she carries her own chair, lined with soaked towels. She smells like moldy stone and carries her own deck in a sealed box, says she doesn't trust the house cards. Next to her is Wade. You'll hear him before you see him, his coat drips steadily, even when he hasn't touched water in years. Drowned long ago, but still plays with the luck of someone who hasn't figured out he's dead. He tosses coins from vanished empires like they're pennies. And then there's Iris. A banshee, we think. Nobody knows for sure. She hums through her nose and stares at the cards like they're people she's waiting to bury. Never talks unless she's betting. The rest come and go. An ogre with tiny hands. A vampire who lost his fangs but kept his appetite for deals. A fairy woman who only spoke Latin but could recite Hamlet. Every chair's got a name carved underneath it, but they swap them around just to confuse staff. And always, they're playing. But here's the rule that matters: if you're human, you don't have anything they want. Not really. They don't take food, or money, or anything you'd find in your pockets. If they ask you to sit in, they're being polite. What they really mean is, are you willing to part with your flesh? Because they will ask. You'll be sweeping the hallway, and someone from inside will call your name. They'll say, "We've got a hand open, just one round." They'll sound kind. Warm. Almost normal. But the moment you step in, they'll start looking at you the way old merchants look at fresh customers. They'll ask what you've brought to bet. And if you try to joke, they'll laugh with you, but not kindly. Because the only thing they take from humans is what's still attached. A thumb joint. A tooth. A sliver of rib. Maybe just a pinky if the stakes are low. Something that can be taken, handed over, held in their palms and passed across the table like an old coin. We had a guy once, Alex, new nurse. Fresh out of school. They invited him in. He sat. Bet his wisdom tooth. He came out smiling. Said he'd won a silver comb with all feathers worked into the spine. Showed it to me, looked ordinary. Next day, he called in sick. Said his whole jaw was hurting. By the end of the week, he pulled 2 more teeth on his own. Said the others were getting jealous. He quit not long after. I asked Rosa once why they do it, why it still matters. We were folding linens behind the West Supply room. She said, it's what they've always done. Monsters make deals. We offer. They take. That's the shape of it. But we're not offering anymore, I said. She gave me a look. Sure we are. Every time one of us opens the door. Every time we stand there too long. She's right. That's the problem. They don't need to go out into the world anymore. They just wait. Play their games. And sometimes, we're stupid enough to walk in. It's not that they're cruel exactly. They're just used to it. Used to making rules. Holding power. Sitting behind tables, waiting for a nod and a handshake. Doesn't matter that they're old. Doesn't matter that they're in a home now. The deal-making part never left. And that's why you don't go near room 12 when the game's on. Don't break it up. Don't joke. Don't play. Because they've been doing this longer than your bloodline's been alive, and the only rule they follow now is the same one they always did. If you come to the table, you better be ready to leave something behind. Rule 5, never go to room 32. Room 32 is at the end of the hallway on the 3rd floor. You'll recognize it right away. The door is painted red, not bright red like a fire truck or lipstick, but dull, faded, almost like it's been soaking in rust for too long. The hallway leading up to it stretches longer than the others, and none of the staff go up there unless we absolutely have to. The number on the door is bolted into the wood off-center, a cheap metal plate screwed in unevenly. The cleaning schedule skips room 32 entirely, and no one questions it. Cook delivers a tray once a week, always on Tuesdays. It's just raw meat on a flat tin, nothing else. He leaves it on the floor beside the door without knocking, and he walks away with his head down. I've never seen anyone open that door, and neither has anyone else on staff. Only Mr. Blackwood knows what's behind it. He's the one who brought the resident in. There wasn't any moving truck, no visitors, no admission paperwork. One day the room was empty. The next, it had a number and a weekly meat delivery. People talk, even when they shouldn't, and over the years the story settled into something simple. The thing behind that red door is the boogeyman. Not a boogeyman. The boogeyman. The one you were scared of as a kid when your parents left the lights off too long and the hallway was too quiet after dinner. The one who lived in closets and under beds and waited for nights when nobody tucked you in. I used to be terrified of him. When I was 7, my parents were both working overnight shifts, and I'd lie awake staring at the shape of my jacket hanging on a chair across the room, convinced it was his hand, reaching. The boogeyman is what monsters talk about when they want to remind each other that even they have lines they don't cross. You see, most monsters don't hurt kids. They scare them, yes. They hide under their beds, scratch at the windows, groan in the floorboards. But harm them. That's different. There's something in monsters that makes them avoid children. Not always out of mercy, but out of order. Some say it's instinct, others say it's respect. The young are supposed to be off limits. It's not a written law, and no one explains it out loud, but you feel it. You see it here too. Some of the older monsters ask about the local schools. One of the sea witches knits little mittens and donates them anonymously to the town church. The ones who have lived long enough don't want to cause harm anymore, not to anyone who hasn't had a chance to live yet. The rest are fair game. But the boogeyman never followed that rule. He hurt children. Not to teach them. Not to protect them. Not even for revenge. He did it because he liked it. He took them from their homes while their parents fought or drank or simply stopped paying attention. He crawled out from under cribs, out of basement doors that shouldn't have opened, and snatched them before they had time to cry. He didn't just scare them. He ate them. Hundreds, maybe more. Towns would try to cover it up. Parents would deny it. But too many children vanished for it to be ignored. Eventually, the stories stopped being warnings and turned into bedtime threats. The numbers became too high to hold on to. They faded into statistics, into urban legends, into something everyone remembered being afraid of but didn't believe had ever been real. But he was. And now he's here. Blackwood won't say where he found him or why he brought him in. Maybe he thought the boogeyman was too dangerous to be out there. Maybe he thought he was too old to keep going. Or maybe it was part of the deal Blackwood made down in New Orleans, the one that changed this place for good. Whatever the reason, room 32 is his cell now. The other residents don't talk about him. I've asked, carefully, once or twice. Iris, the banshee who glares at anyone who forgets to steep her tea, once looked up from her knitting and said, "There's evil, and then there's him." She didn't explain further. No one ever does. So you don't go near that door. You don't touch it. You don't stare at it too long, even if you're just walking past. You don't joke about it. You don't ask Blackwood what's inside. You certainly don't ask what he looks like, because the only person who knows is the men who brought him here, and he's not sharing. We don't know what's behind that door. We only know that we should never find out. The end, that's it. Training's done. You've made it through all the rules, the whole strange, twisted map of this place, and I haven't had to fish you out of the crawlspace or patch you up with duct tape. Now you know what we're dealing with. You know not to polish the silver until the werewolves are asleep. You know the cough in the walls isn't a rat, but Victor, and he just wants candy. You know to stay far away from the witch's tea, and farther from their jokes. You know what a card game in room 12 actually means, and why your teeth and fingers aren't worth a game of fairy poker. You even know about the red door on the 3rd floor, and more importantly, you know to leave it alone. That's the job. Blackwood's isn't like any other retirement home. There are no activity boards. No Hawaiian shirt Fridays. No jazz playing softly from a Bluetooth speaker. Don't get spooked. Not all monsters are cruel. Not all are kind, either. Like anyone old, they're just tired, picky, stubborn, and set in their ways. They lived strange, long lives, and now they're here, trying to wind down in peace, if that's even possible for something that used to eat people whole or scream villages into madness. And it's our job to make that peace possible. You, me, the rest of the staff. Blackwood himself, in his own way. All that's left now is your first shift. And hey, would you look at the clock? It's 9:30. That means the werewolves are in for the night. Start small. Unlock the silver cabinet. Take out the tray. Use the green cloth. Sit by the dining room window. Breathe. Stay alert. It's a simple job, until it isn't. Welcome to Blackwood's.